Man, can you still throw it? You ever get out and toss it around?
With the grandkids once in a while, I can still get it out there pretty good.
Yeah.
I may not be able to put a shirt on the next day, but it takes a while to warm up. But, it's still a spiral, put it that way.
I got you. All right. You ever watch football on Sundays and just think like, man, I'd like to get out there for one more play?
No, because I see him getting hit. It would be fun to play nowadays. The
Yeah.
way that the game has gone, it's a passing league now,
Yeah.
and that would have been fun to play in today's
I'm
world.
sure. Is there anything about the league now where you're like, outside of just the stylistic changes, the fact that it is more of a passing game, outside of that, is there anything about the game or the league now that you're like, I wish it was like that when I played?
Yeah, I wish the quarterbacks were protected like they are nowadays.
Yeah, a lot of money goes into
you can't hit them high, you
those
can't
guys.
hit them low, and
that, yeah.
so I might still be playing today if they had that rules.
Yeah. What about like all of the, just everything surrounding the league, like guys being mic'd up, like could you imagine being mic'd up during a game back in the day?
Oh, heck no. And I think it's tougher for the players nowadays with cell phones and that, and,
Yeah.
and the guys are more celebrities today than they were back then, and it's hard to go out, and I remember, we'd have a bunch of guys, we go out for happy hour after Thursday's practice, nobody bothers you.
Yeah.
These guys can't do stuff like that
Yeah,
now.
right, exactly. Another year comes and goes without the Hall of Fame nod. It's something we've got to talk about here. When you get that news that it's not going to be this year, what's your reaction? What are your thoughts attached to that?
I'm not disappointed. I think
Really?
the first year I was a finalist, 5 years after I retired, I was a finalist, and it's kind of, okay, on Saturday, be by your phone at 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. I'm there, and okay, it's 2:05, it's 2:10, it's 2:30, and I guess I'm not getting it. That was disappointing. Now it's not disappointing because it's something that you don't expect, and I don't expect it right now. And, it's very flattering at this time of year that people are talking about you and remembering your career. And certainly I'm very grateful for all the support that Cincinnati and Bengal fans have given me in this process. But I wasn't disappointed.
You talk about the fan support, and there's been a massive push, especially over these last few years. Let's get these guys to the Hall. There need to be more Bengals players in the Hall of Fame. Do you think that fan push could be helpful?
It couldn't hurt. I know that. But it's just, especially in the senior category now that, 2 years ago they changed the voting, that instead of the three seniors, there's now a coach with it and a contributor with it. And so now there's 5 in the group, and you can only vote for 3 of the 5, and they got to get 80% of the vote. And so last year, 1 senior went in, and this year, the only person of the group that went in was 1 senior. So I think it's harder for seniors nowadays.
You said it's not as disappointing these days. Is there a frustration there, seeing the years come and go?
Not really, because like I say, it's been fun, at this point, the last couple of weeks, remembering stuff. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
I tell people, can it get better than being on the field at Riverfront Stadium in the Freezer Bowl, and the clock goes to 0 and we're in our first Super Bowl?
Could have been a little warmer.
Well, yeah. Can I get in the locker room real quick and try to warm up? But no, just that, that moment in time, the Bengals' first Super Bowl. Back in 2021, being down on the field and see the cover coming off, your number up there for the Bengals' first Ring of Honor. Those moments are real special, and they're tough to top.
What was that moment like, standing there at Paycor Stadium and looking around, and you see all these people who know and love you and have supported you for decades at this point, and then seeing it come down, and it's your name right there forever.
Well, and it's something that, again, you never expected. You never thought the Bengals were going to have a Ring of Honor. And I think that's one of the best things that they've ever done.
If you could speak to the voters, what would be your statement or your argument? Would you make an argument for yourself?
No, not really. I mean, I think it kind of, speaks for itself. I think, I don't know this, but I think not winning a Super Bowl, if you're a quarterback, and that's one of the boxes that you didn't check. And it's not with any other position, but it is, for quarterback, and, can't go back and change that moment in time where we got beat in the 81 season by San Francisco.
Had you won that Super Bowl, do you think you would be in the Hall of Fame right now?
Yes.
Unequivocally.
Yeah, I
No
do
doubt.
think so. Yeah, I do think so.
What would you say to the fans out there who have supported this push to the Hall?
Well, I mean, I think that's why we got great fans in Cincinnati, and you go back to that 81 season and the orange and black, wigs and the paint on your face and the cheering and banners in the stadium. And, we have such great fans here in Cincinnati that are Bengal fans, and just the way that they support players. And like, my gosh, I'm going to be 77 years old and still get the support, you had, and I haven't played in 50 years.
If you were to one day get that call, which I think it will happen. That's just me saying that. If that call comes one day and you get to walk across that stage, what would that moment mean to you?
It would be the culmination of a career. And, as I said before, it's, when you're a kid from Batavia, Illinois, town of 10,000, small high school, and you go to a Division III school, Augustana College, you didn't dream about playing in the NFL, let alone getting in the Hall of Fame. And so just the fact that I got drafted by Paul Brown and Bill Walsh and had a 16-year career, and took the Bengals to their first Super Bowl, made a few Pro Bowls along the way, I'm pretty dang happy with the career I had.
So you did not dream of playing in the NFL as a kid?
No.
Is that right?
No, and in fact, when I went to Augustana, when you grow up in a small town, you play every sport.
Yeah, of course.
And I always thought that baseball was my best sport, basketball was my favorite sport, and that's what I was going to Augustana to play.
Was football at least number 3?
Well, it was number 3.
Okay.
But my high school football coach talked to me, and I think the letter I wrote is dated June 28th, writing to Augustana, the head football coach there, Ralph Strenko, could I try out for the team? And ended up making the team, starting as a freshman at quarterback, and then I ended up starting on the varsity basketball team as a freshman. And then when the baseball coach called and said, hey, we're hitting down in the bus barns, I was a little tired, so I never did play baseball, and I thought that was my best sport.
So you wrote, it was a handwritten letter to the football coach.
Right.
What did it say?
It said, I'd like to try out for the team. I've been working out, I've been lifting weights. I was an all-conference safety. I never made all-conference in high school as a quarterback. And so when I went to Augustana, they had just won the conference the year before, and the returning quarterback and backups were both just going into their junior year, and they had recruited 5 freshmen to play quarterback. And I thought, what chance do I have? And so after a couple of practices, I went to the question, can I go play defense? And they said, why don't you just stick playing quarterback for a while?
Really?
But I will say this, the defensive background really paid off.
Is that right?
I think the best play I ever made, I think it was the game, I was 20 out of 22 against Pittsburgh back in the mid-'70s. And we had a 3-point lead going into ice the game, and our running back is tackled on the 5-yard line and rolls over. Official didn't blow the play dead, and Mike Wagner picked up the ball and starts going for the winning touchdown. And I chased him down and head across the bow, wrapped up the arms, punished him, tackle. It wasn't pushing him out of bounds. It was a legitimate tackle.
Those years of playing safety paid off in that moment.
That's exactly right.
Have you ever thought about what might have happened had you not written that letter? Had the coaches not said, why don't you stick to quarterback?
I would have been teaching school in the Chicago area and teaching math and coaching all the sports there. That was my goal in life. My uncle was like my older brother. He was, when his parents died, my dad was the oldest in the family and finished raising him, and he was always kind of my idol. And he was a high school math teacher and football and basketball coach, and that's what I was going to do. And that was my goal in life. But things got in the way there.
What if somebody had gone back to 18 or 19-year-old Kenny and said, one day you're going to not only play in the NFL, that's going to be step one. You're going to go to a Super Bowl. You're playing the Super Bowl. You're going to have a 16-year career. And at some point later in your life, you're going to be waiting for that call from the Hall of Fame.
You're crazy. You are absolutely crazy.
Would you have believed that?
No.
Why not?
No. Well, like I say, it's when you don't go to a Division III school to play athletics with the goal of being a pro athlete. So that was never the goal. And like I say, back that would have been my freshman year. And like I say, if I didn't play football, I probably would be still happy today I would be a retired math teacher and coach now.
There you go. Do you have a favorite moment that you look back to in your career, like one moment or a couple of moments where you're just like, man, that was it?
I always go back to that game. It was the first Monday night game in Cincinnati. We're playing Buffalo. And, I threw for about 450 in the game. OJ ran for 200 yards and we beat them. But just to see, at that moment, the city was electric. It was lit up. And like I say, the first Monday night game at Riverfront Stadium. I mean, Dandy Don and Howard and Giff coming to do the game. Although in those days, I never met them. They didn't have any production meetings the night before a game. They weren't down in the field before the game. So, I mean, I never met any of the three, but just, Monday Night Football, I mean, that was before satellites for television. So that's the first time that the nation saw national highlights. And guys, you made sure that you watched, you're playing, but you made sure you watched Monday Night highlights to see if you made them.
You talk about the Freezer Bowl in that moment. I mean, that has to be like the most talked about game in NFL history.
Well, no question. And it was, you knew it was going to be cold. In fact, Forrest Gregg's, his pregame talk was very inspirational. Men, it's going to be a lot like going to the dentist. It's going to hurt, but you got to go anyway. And, and it was cold, and we didn't have all the gear. We didn't have the hand warmers and the pouches to put your hands in and the special gear that you wore. But we did have heated benches for the first time.
Wow.
And
that was the first game ever.
Well, I think they had been somewhere else, but we had never seen them. I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
So it's in the first quarter, and luckily I've got my helmet on because I sit down on the bench and I'm sitting on my hands.
Yeah, of course.
And somebody throws a cape over me, and they got little slots for your feet to go in. And there's a big roar of the crowd, and I stand up to see if there's a turnover. If I'm going back in, my hands are behind me, my feet don't come out, I go down, and the first thing that hits is my face mask. I'm seeing stars and hearing birds. And I call for the trainer for some smelling salts. I said, I can't get knocked out of the game falling off the bench. Now, there weren't as many cameras covering games. There were no cell phones back
can you imagine it if that happened in 2026?
They might have called down from upstairs. I might have had to go in concussion protocol and not finish the game.
That's right. How often do people bring up that game to you?
A lot.
People bring up that game to me a lot, and I wasn't even here yet.
That's why I'll be walking around. It's 40 degrees, and I am bundled up because I get very cold nowadays.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
You went out there to warm up, and you kind of cut your normal routine down before you go back in, and then you come out as a team to stretch. It's a little cold out there. I think I just go back a little bit early today, but it was just. I think that's one of the things that Forrest Gregg instilled in us was not only physical toughness, but mental toughness, in which you really had to have that day to play.
So you win the game. Were you able to really soak in that moment at that time, like when you were on the field, or were you just like, get me warm?
Well, you forgot about the cold at that point in time, and it was a windy day, and there's papers blowing across the field, and we're just all there, and it just, excited. It's really going to happen. And I think a lot of us predicted that before the season. Forrest's first year, I think we were 6-10, but we knew we were getting better. And then when you looked at the schedule and the Super Bowls in Pontiac, Michigan, I'm going, will I get to go to LA, to Phoenix, to New Orleans, to Miami? Now, if I ever get to go to Super Bowl, it's going to be in Pontiac, Michigan. Yeah. So that it came true.
The memories for you of playing in that Super Bowl, what do you remember about that experience?
Oh, I think it's just the disappointment after the game that we didn't win. The disappointment that it was mostly our mistakes. I don't think that they necessarily played better than us. It was our miscues, and certainly with 5 fumbles and 2 interceptions, you're not going to, win a Super Bowl doing that. And, one of the keys to the game is whoever scores first has the best chance to win. And we kicked off. They fumbled the opening kickoff. And we get the ball in good field position, make a first down, and it's 3rd and goal on the 5-yard line. And so we go 3 wide receivers to the left. Isaac Curtis is on the outside. The way that they played, we're picking outside. He's coming underneath. And we get exactly the coverage we wanted, and I throw, and Dwight Hicks intercepts it. And they go out and go down and get the first touchdown. And that kind of haunted me for a lot of years till I saw Dwight at a celebrity golf tournament. And I went up and said hi. He said, well, I'm surprised you're speaking to me. Oh, I've forgotten about that play a long time ago. He said, well, I just got to tell you, I blew the coverage. He said, I didn't go with my man for some reason to the corner. He said, I shouldn't have been there.
Wow.
So that's...
and that's the way that the game goes sometimes.
That's exactly how it is.
You said that had the Bengals won that game, you think you would be in the Hall of Fame right now. Do you think that's fair that you play 16 years and you have what's otherwise a Hall of Fame career, and that decision might come down to essentially one moment in time within those 16 years?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know what the voters think. I don't know what they talk about. And like I say, it's to the point now that I am very proud of my career. I'm very proud of what we accomplished as a team. I'm very proud of the teammates that I have, and not only what they've done on the field, but what they've done off the field. And these guys still making a difference in Cincinnati. Guys like Anthony and Max and Jimmy Breach, California guys, where do they live? They live in Cincinnati. And there's so many ex-players living here, David Fulcher, all these guys doing so much great in the community that, like I say, just a bunch of class guys. I'm glad they were my teammates and they're my friends.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many of you did stick around in Cincinnati?
Because it's a great place to live. And I think, on back of it, in the class of 71, the draft was kind of the first year of the quarterback, where Jim Plunkett went number 1, Archie Manning number 2, Dan Pastorini number 3, Lynn Dickey went in the 3rd before me, then Joe Theismann after me. And the year that Patrick Mahomes and Trubisky and a bunch of those guys came out, the year of the quarterback. And so they did an article in Sports Illustrated, and they were talking to all of us about that. And Jim Plunkett said, of all of us, Kenny was the lucky one. He got to go to Cincinnati, a great town with a great head coach in Paul Brown and a great offensive coordinator in Bill Walsh, and that was certainly the case.
Well, and now you look at the current quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals and how he's been so instrumental, Joe Burrow has, in turning around this franchise. What are your thoughts on Joe?
Oh, he's going to be the best quarterback the Bengals have ever had. It's just his preparation, the way he approaches the game, his mechanics. He's the real deal, and he's a generational guy. But I think we've seen you can have him and Jamar, and you can have team. You can't do it all yourself. It's still a team game, and they'll get it figured out. And I expect us to be back in the Super Bowl in the near future.
What will it take for that to happen in your mind?
Well, it takes a total team. You've got to have a defense that's playing well. And certainly, when we played, we had a great offense and we had a very, very good defense. And, I've got a lot of confidence in Zach Taylor. I think he is a great coach. The players play hard for him. We just, we need a few more bodies maybe on the defensive side of the football. We're going to get that solved. And like I say, I think we've got a good nucleus over there, and we'll get a few more, whether it's via free agency or the draft this year. And once we get that figured out, here we go.
Zach's taken some criticism over the years. What is it that makes you believe so strongly in Zach and what he's doing?
Well, I've told him this story. When I knew he was a good coach, was his first year. They weren't winning many games, and they played in London, and I was over for that game. And so they practice in Cincinnati on a Thursday afternoon, go out, get on a plane, fly all night, get there, go to the hotel, drop your bags off, and go practice at a small stadium. And it's kind of a London, dreary, drizzly, 50-degree day.
Yeah.
And I've been out there when you've had long trips and all that other stuff. It's very easy to kind of just go through the motions in that situation. And I'm there at practice and saw one of the most spirited, well-executed practices I've ever seen.
Is that right?
And I said, these guys are buying in to what he's telling them. And I said, he is the right guy for the job. And I still believe that.
You talk about some of your teammates back in the day, still to this day, doing things to impact the community. You're right there among that group. Why has that always been such an important thing for you?
Well, I mean, I think that was part of our DNA growing up. When you look at, I've been a man of the year, Boomer's been a man of the year, Anthony, and we've had a lot of guys here that's just part of your DNA if you live in Cincinnati. It's just how can we make the lives of others a little bit better? And then certainly I've kind of continued that on, and starting the Ken Anderson Alliance and being out here and what we're doing for adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. And I'm very proud of the adults that we're helping out just to make their lives a little bit better.
Well, and then one of the younger guys too, Ted Karras, has jumped right in.
No question. And I don't know how he could not be the man of the year last night. So I didn't get in, Willie didn't get in, and Ted didn't get it. So we were shut out last night.
That time is coming, man. When people look back 30, 40, 50 years from now, how do you want your career to be remembered?
Dang, it's already been 50 years since I played, it seems like. So now we got to wait. I don't know. I don't know. I just hope that they can look up and say, hey, 14 wasn't too bad a player.
How do you want them to remember your legacy just as a guy, as a person?
That he tried to help others and make a difference in their lives and leave Cincinnati a little bit better place than when I got it.